Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. I'm going to apologize for not having my normal setup with my bookshelf in the back. I just didn't feel like doing my whole setup, so I literally just have my camera sitting on a water bottle. So let's pray this doesn't fall. I filmed the video already like this and it didn't fall, so fingers crossed it will stay that way. But these are my January 2022 releases that I am excited for. There is 7 books on this list, and I will do my best to describe them, although some of them I might like use Goodreads for, because some of them are a little bit more of like I'm partially interested in it, but it's still on the list. So the first book, which releases on January 8th, is Secrets We Hunt by Dana Isley. And this is a very weird book to start off with, but it's essentially going to, I think, end up being an erotic novella where essentially we follow this guy named Wes who is in Greece and then ends up stumbling upon this girl Zoe from his past, and it's them like having like a one night thing or all of that. This is book 2 in the one night series, so that's why I'm saying like it'll probably be like a one night of fun type thing. I have loved everything I've read by Dana Isley, and I will read anything published by her. So pretty much you just need to tell me that she has a new book coming out and I'll be like, okay, yeah, shut up, I'll read it. So this is a book I will definitely be reading, probably on release date. So the next book, also on January 8th, is A Betrayal of Storms by Alderson. And this, I don't know much about. I don't really want to know much about going into it. But essentially, there is this half-fae who ends up being the heir to the Winter Court. And essentially, everybody in the lands are trying to kill him because there's something to do with, like, the ruler of the Winter Court is bound to, like, do something. This was literally added to my TBR because I follow the author and he's been like hyping it up so much, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll add it to my TBR. Will I read it? That's a whole separate story. But it's queer, it's fantasy. Do I need to say more? In all honesty, I'm like, I need to read more queer fantasies. And it's also supposedly a little bit smutty, which like honestly almost fits the vibe of this whole releases, because I'm just now realizing 4 out of these 7 books of this feature smut in my knowledge, so like, oops. And that leads on to January 18th, which is Electric Idol by Katee Robert, and this I know nothing about. Are we surprised? Like, all I know is it is a Eros and Psyche retelling. It is set in the Dark Olympus world. The first book set in that world is Neon Gods, which I loved, but essentially it is kind of like almost like kinky retellings, and this one is like the trope of like I'm sent to kill you but end up something like that. And yeah, like that's all I need to know of like this book. I will be reading this the second my library has a copy of it, because I read Neon Gods from my library, so I know they'll get Electric Idol, or at least fingers crossed. If not, I will buy it myself. But I am very, very excited for this, as I love Neon Gods, and I'm very excited to see more of this world. I know nothing about the Eros and Psyche myth type thing, so like it will be all new to me. I might do a little bit of research beforehand, but I can't promise you that. Okay, and the next book is Love and Other Disasters by Anita, and this I don't know much about. I've heard good things about it. I've only heard a couple good things about it. But it just sounds like something I'd like. So, the first openly non-binary contestant on America's Favorite Cooking Show falls for their clumsy competitor in this deliciously romantic comedy by debut. Recently divorced and on the verge of bankruptcy, Dahlia Woodson is ready to reinvent herself on the popular reality competition show Chef Special. Too bad the first memorable move she makes is falling flat on her face, sending fish tacos flying. Not quite the fresh start she was hoping for. Still, she focused on winning until she met someone she might want a future with more than she needs the prize money. After announcing their pronouns on national television, London Parker has has enough on their mind without worrying about the klutzy competitor stations in front of them. They're there to prove to the trolls, including a few fellow contestants and their dad, wrong. And falling in love was never part of the plan. London and Dahlia get closer, reality starts to fall away. Goodbye guilt about divorce, anxiety about uncertain futures, and the stress from transphobia. Hello hilarious shenanigans on set, wedding crashes, and spontaneous dips into the Pacific. But the finale draws near. Dahlia and London's steamy relationship starts to feel the heat both in and outside the kitchen, and they must figure out if they have the right ingredients for happily ever after. That just sounds really good. It looks like it has like 4 and 5 star reviews on Goodreads. This isn't one I'll pick up immediately. I do want to wait for a little bit more to hear about it, but it is a like adult romance. It's queer. Do I need to say more? Really? Like, it just sounds like something I'd like. Like, reading that description just makes me seem like I'd be happy reading it. And also, it's a cooking show. It contains food. I like to eat. I'm kind of joking on that of, like, that's why I like it, but I do genuinely, like, think I will enjoy it. Next, we have Unholy Terrors by C.M. Stunich. And this book is the second book in the Scarlet Forest series, the first book being Fuckboy Psychos. I recently read book 1 in December, and I'm very, 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 very excited for Unholy Terrors. So essentially, in the first book, Fuckboy Psychos, we follow Scarlet, who is kind of like the bad bitch at Prescott High. She also is pretty dang popular at the racetrack and all of that, and essentially it's her going through like a chunk of period in time where there's these 4 different love interests who are all very different from one another, and this story weaves into like a thing, and I literally cannot describe much more. It is new adult. It features, it's a reverse harem. It features like so many different things, and it's definitely like really, really, really good. I gave book 1 4 stars, and I literally will be reading Unholy Terrors the second it drops on Kindle Unlimited. Or at least I hope it's on Kindle Unlimited, because, well, the first book was, and I think all of C.M. Stunich's books are on Kindle Unlimited, so I would guess. So the next book is The Temperature of Me and You by Brian Zepka. And this I have an arc of through NetGalley, so I will be reading this in January. But I honestly don't remember much about this, except it's queer, so I'm going to read the description of it. So 16-year-old Dylan Highmark thought his winter was going to be full of boring shifts at Dairy Queen, until he finds himself in love with a boy who's literally too hot to handle. Dylan has always wanted a boyfriend, but the suburbs surrounding Philadelphia do not have a lot in the way of options. Then walks in Jordan, a completely normal and undeniably cute boy who also happens to run at a cool 110 degrees Fahrenheit. When the boys start spending time together, Dylan begins feeling all kinds of ways, and when he spikes a fever for 2 weeks and is suddenly coughing flames, he thinks he might be suffering from something more than just a crush. Jordan forces Dylan to keep his symptoms a secret, but as the pressure mounts and Dylan becomes distant with his closest friends and family, he pushes Jordan for answers. Jordan's revelations of why he's like this, where he's from, and who's after him leaves Dylan realizing how much a first love is truly out of this world. And if Earth supports life that breathes oxygen, then love can only keep Jordan and Dylan together for so long. So it's like a contemporary with a fantasy twist, so like not magical realism, but like I'm guessing, like, based on a few things, it might be like a fantasy / sci-fi twist in there of the fact that, well, one of our characters can cough fire. That's not normal, last time I checked. And I remember reading that description a few months ago when I first requested it on NetGalley and was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing, and I do badly need to read it. I might be able to squeeze it in December, but if not, I will 100% be reading it in January. January's probably more likely, though. And the final book in January that I'm excited for, which I also have an arc through the author, like the author has provided me an arc of this book, is Blade of Ash by C.F. Black, and this comes out on January 25th. If I forgot to put any dates of these books, I will leave the date somewhere on the screen. So this I'm also going to read the description of because it's fantasy. I don't really like to go into my YA fantasies knowing too much, but for you, I'll read the description. The only way to beat death is to choose it. Newly crowned Red blames one person for his father's murderer, the secret sorceress sworn to protect the king. Alyana, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Baron, royal soldier to the throne of Tendera, fears her magic is weakening. When Red is cursed, his life entwines with Ali's in ways that neither of them expected. Together they will chase the cure that will heal the king and restore her magic. But the closer they get to the cure, the nearer they step towards death, for the path for the cure is as dangerous as the new cure itself. It is a YA fantasy, perfect for fans of enemies to lovers, romance packed full of royal intrigue, legends, and plenty of ball gowns. If you would like female bodyguards and forced proximity with life and death, this story is for you. Well, let's just say enemies to lovers is my favorite trope. Royals, legends, female bodyguards, forced proximity, life and death stakes. All of that is what I love in books. So I think I will enjoy this book, and this I will also be reading in January, as again I have an arc, so like I gotta put a review out for this book. So those are 7 releases in January that I'm excited for. Let me know what January releases you're excited for, because I'd love to hear about them and then look them up and then see if there's something that I'd like, as I always read way too many new releases and struggle with reading backlists. Don't judge me on that. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!